Hi everybody, and welcome back to my channel for this Saturday morning, afternoon or evening across the world where you may be at. I hope you're all doing well. And today I'm going to be talking about the TV network called ITV here in the UK and one of its afternoon programmes called Loose Woman. On yesterday's episode segment, they were talking about school holidays for the children that have recently broken up here in the UK and the struggles for people with disabilities and neurodivergences, and Christine McGuinness was one of the loose women on the panel for yesterday's episode, and she made some really valid points. I will give her credit and her due. She did say some really good, impressive things that I totally agree with, but at the same time there's some things that I think she failed to mention or to even bring up in general in the discussion. I know that they only have a hour show, it's 12:30 to 1:30, so I know they have many topics they have to get through in that segment, and I appreciate that. But for the segment that I'm talking about today is about the neurodivergences children and adults for school holidays, and she raised some really good things about her children and neurodivergent children needing that routine to be carrying on, and that they were talking about the school holidays being potentially cut down or shortened. And whilst I agree maybe they could be shortened somewhat, I think the 6 weeks is quite nice because it gives the teachers a break, it gives the students time to spend with their families and to relax and to get ready for the new school year in September. And I agree that the routine needs to be kept in place, and that autistic children and neurodivergent children and neurodivergent young people, and what I'm going to add into this is from an adult's perspective, from a neurodivergent adult perspective, that neurodivergent adults who are now out of work, out of college, out of school, out of education, further education, are now going to struggle with the sudden amount of change, the sudden lack of routine. And I think that's what she failed to mention. I understand she was talking from a children's perspective, they were discussing it from a children and young people's perspective, but we need to include the autistic adults and neurodivergent adults in this segment as well, because not just children are being affected during this 6 to 8 week holiday. And I think that we often forget about neurodivergent adults and neurodivergent young people who are either in further education or in further education training or in work training, and now they are having their summer holiday break and they are now facing the sudden change of routine, the lack of routine, being out of the workplace, being out of school, not being with their familiar friends, their familiar work colleagues. And we've got to remember that this can cause increased anxiety, increased sensory sensitivity, increased panic attacks, increased auditory overload, and then you put into force that the fact they're having to be at home for a prolonged period, away from their friends, away from socialisation, they're having to be back in an environment where they may not feel comfortable or may feel panicked and about the change that are happening, the not being able to see their friends as much or as long. So again, that can be something that is important to take into account. I think also she did raise a good point that again, this comes down to having a regular routine, make sure that there's one parent at least around for the majority of the holiday, because if one parent has to work, understandably, one parent has to work. So again, making sure either if it's the mum that's working, the dad's home, or if the dad has to work, the mum's home, so there is some form of routine for the children to feel safe and to feel grounded and to feel that they've got someone they rely on and they trust and they feel safe being around. Or if you're having to put them with other family members, an aunt, an uncle, a grandfather, a grandmother, a family friend, make sure they feel safe and they know that they're going to their house for a short-term period, and then that you'll be coming to get them to take them back home into their safe zone, their comfort zone, their everyday situation. And I think that is the important thing also to raise in this area, because now that the school holidays are in full swing for a lot of people, it is going to be a massive change to a lot of people. And I think school holidays can be quite frightening, because you've gone from being in a set routine every day, Monday to Friday, you're at school, you're at college, you're at work, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now I'm having time off work, now I'm having time off school, I'm having time off college, I'm going to be at home, I'm going to be away from my safe friends, I'm going to be away from my regular routine of when I can eat, when I can go to the bathroom, when I can do this. And now you're having to throw all that into a big sensory overload, a big auditory overload, potentially leading to panic attacks, meltdowns, shutdowns, withdrawals. Maybe some autistic people who are prone to eloping, which means they run off. They may try and elope to get some sensory relief and to get some form of sensory relief. If they go to a local park, a local museum or something, they may feel that they need to escape and go to that. So I think Loose Woman did a really good job of the autism front. I'm really proud they did mention it and bring it up as a general, quite lengthy discussion, but I think we need to focus also on the autistic adults and neurodivergent adult side of things, because not all people are going to be children. It's going to be youngsters from the age of 15, 16 upwards who are in college, further education, autistic adults in general who are in the world of work, who are now going on their summer holiday break, or going to visit family, away from their home, away from their work, away from their safe zone, away from their friends. Again, this can cause increased auditory stimulation, meltdowns, shutdowns, panic attacks, anxiety attacks. It can cause increased panic and make them not want to communicate. So again, we need to take that into account as well. I think autism is getting better discussed now in the media. That is shown on Loose Woman yesterday. I was really impressed with how they actually talked about it, and it was discussing quite a positive, open light. And I was really impressed with how Christine McGuinness, Christine Lampard and others discussed the topic. But I think we need to also just remember to add the adults in as well. But let me know what you think about this video. Please give it a like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye!